Welcome to the Donald Dinnie Games and my first step forwards into the world of Strongman, and there is no better way to do it for me personally than on home turf, honouring Scottish stone lifting and all of the heritage that goes with it. Last year in April I became the 184th person to lift the Dinnie Stones, 332 kilograms of history, heritage, storytelling and really honouring the strength community here in Scotland. So to be invited to take part in the Donald Dinnie Games at the Gathering in Patark in Aberdeenshire was a real honour and a real privilege. I won't bore you with the details of Scottish stone lifting, but there is a link in the description down below that gives you a bit more information on all of the stones, where they're located, whether you can access them, how much they weigh and all of the storytelling behind them, because it's not just the weight and the history and the heritage, it's the people that have curated them, that have looked after them, that makes the Scottish strength community really honour and respect everything that goes with them. So the Gathering is held every year in August and it is effectively a combination of normally two things, but this year there was a third. So it is a set of attempts at the Dinnie Stones for people to sign themselves up for and come and give them a crack. It is the Donald Dinnie Games, which is a stone lifting strongman event. And then this year, for the first time ever, was the Jan Todd Games, which was the female version of the Donald Dinnie Games, honouring Jan Todd, who is an exceptionally decorated strongwoman in her own right. I've been nervous about this event because I am not built like a strongman. I don't conventionally train like a strongman, and I have a lot of other things going on with my training, which means that I had a lot of skills to learn. I spent some time with the Stoltmans learning some top line stuff, but I haven't had a huge amount of time to put them to practice. So I went into this event with one goal: do not zero any events and have as much fun as you possibly can. So why don't we start by kicking things off with the 102 kilo Magoo stone.
Signed in, t-shirt acquired, chalked up. I am nervous for this first event. I will go completely out of the blocks and say that this is the one event I'm worried I'm going to bomb on and get a zero. 102 kilos stone to shoulder. Most I've done in training is 90. I've only done 3 sessions in my life, and only 2 of those sessions have actually successfully had a stone to my shoulder. I want 1 rep on the board. That's all I want. I've got 75 seconds for max reps. I'm looking for 1. Anything else is a bonus. Hopefully we're cutting to a scene of me with a stone on my shoulder rather than with a stone about here as I go. Ah!
Done. No. 30 seconds.
That's the relief, man. Fucking hell. That was most adrenaline I've felt in years, actually. Crowd of people watching me do something I was very, very, very alien to. And it was good fun trying to figure out the mechanics of the stone rather than the 2 sessions I've had without the stone. So I'll get my breath back and we'll catch up soon.
Okay, so event number 1 out of the way, and reflecting on it now, there are a few things that I would do differently. I think first and foremost, I was nervous, which meant I took my time. I really, really wanted to focus on my mental cues. That slowed me down. But ultimately, as I said, all I wanted was 1 rep. So anything else was a bonus. But launching it off my chest away from the mat in rep 1 meant that I then got the stone wet. It was a bit further away. I lost time. That spiked my nervousness and adrenaline even more. But I probably did that because of the inherent fear of having 102 kilos coming down the way towards your feet. So really, could I have better prepared for that? Potentially by dropping more out of the stones down by my feet, but did I want to do that? Not particularly. So to get 2 reps clean, very happy with that. I think had I been a bit more patient and just got under the stone a little bit more on the 3rd one, I could have got a 3rd rep, but I'm very pleased with 2. So if I was to return to lift the Magoo stone again, I'd do some things differently, but I'm very pleased to have built the wings as I fly the first time round.
All right, that's something. Can't exactly bust out a band Can I?
Moving into event number 2, the Nickel Stones, with some advice from Brett Nickel himself ahead of time, which is very, very fortunate. I went into these quite confident because I've done a lot of work with the pins, as I'll discuss with you shortly, but ultimately they're big, heavy rocks with handles on them, which means that they are gonna do what they want when you're moving with them. So Brett's key advice to me was don't be a hero. If you feel them pulling and you feel any twinge on any muscle, let go because it will pull it off. He's seen it happen plenty of times. And the main thing was try and keep the stones on your legs as you're moving with them, because if you let them sort of drop in behind your calves or out in front of you, the stone will just pull you forwards or backwards and you'll have a bad time. So 252 kilos, walk with it as far as you can. Some advice from Mr. Nickel himself. Off we go.
First few steps, the guys, 25 are pretty easy, but as you get to 4, 5, 6, 7 feet, you can see the strain coming on, it starts to hurt the hand.
Go on, Fergus.
The lower back starts to go. These stones rub against your legs. Try and press them. Let's get a further encouragement.
Stand up tall.
Easy.
That's the man.
Good. Here, slow and steady. Go too fast, the stones go across, they pull you forward.
Go on, Fergus.
Keep on breaking Fergus. Go on, steady step, that's it. Come on, Fergus.
Come on.
Let's get it, go. Let's go.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Come on, up.
Up again.
Let's go. Come on, boys. Push. Yes.
Having covered 12 feet, I was really quite pleased with myself, and whilst I was crying a little bit internally and minorly externally at the pain in my hands from hook grip, I then had the rude awakening that came from Big Dave picking them up like he was carrying his shopping from Tesco to the back of his car. So no better way to remind me that I was about 30 kilos lighter than the rest of the pack, but ultimately this is what I'm here for. It's curiosity first and the experience of knowing what I'd do differently were I to do it again. And ultimately, I think what I would do is just back myself to take slightly bigger steps. I'd know what the pickup would feel like. I'd know what the steps would feel like with the actual stones themselves. So I'm confident that if I had another go in the near future, I'd probably be able to push towards 15 feet or so, maybe. Lessons learned, experience gathered, and insights gained, but it was amazing to see the big boys do what they do best and walk with them like they were just going for a stroll with the dog. One thing I want to draw your attention to is my choice of footwear for this event, because you might be thinking, wow, you must need a really reinforced pair of shoes to protect from falling rocks. Well, no. In fact, I chose my regular choice of footwear for all strength training activities, Vivo Barefoot. Specifically, their up-and-coming strength-focused model that I've been fortunate enough to wear test for the past couple of months, and I'm very much enjoying them for the simple reasons that they have all of the benefits that I talk about very openly here on the channel, and there's videos on the screen that you can go and engage with for more context and information on exactly that, but specifically the grip that comes with this specific model is very exciting and has worked really well for all my strength training. Open toe box, flexible and really positive proprioception from the ground upwards means I can really feel my way into the floor, create tension where I need to create tension, and really plant myself to get my whole body in the right place to lift an Atlas stone off the floor, to get into the best deadlift position that I can. All of the things that go into my strength training, I wear Vivo Barefoot for, and if you would like to do the same thing, then you can use the code FergusVivo for 15% off. And if you keep an eye on the website towards the end of the month, you might even be able to grab yourself the very pair that I'm wearing here. As I've already mentioned earlier, the Dinnie Stones are really at the core, at the center of this strength community, and conventionally, they are held and protected by the Belogie estate. You need to request and book in to come and lift them, as Johnny and I did in April last year to become 184 and 186, having lifted them. And the other opportunity that you get is at the gathering. And what's really exciting is Hannah Lindsay came all the way over from America to lift them with straps and then go on to become the second woman ever to lift them unassisted. There are also replica stones that kick about the Giants Live tour worldwide, but having spoken to Brett Nickel and the rest of the team that look after the stones, nothing compares to the stones themselves. themselves. As well as this, the Stoltman brothers came along and lifted them for the first time, so the little bit of leverage in the world of strength that I had over them is now unfortunately gone. And to add a cherry on top of this rather heavy, strong and powerful cake, Lawrence Charlet broke the world record for the longest Dinnie Stone carry ever.
Come on. So, event number 3, what's it called? The Rendrag Stone. Working title, Rendrag Stone. It's about 16.5 kilos and you need to get it from that point as far as you can. So, by any means necessary, we've just been informed that unless you are an excellent shot putter, don't bother. So it's over the head and hope for the best. And I'm very much hoping for the best. I've just been informed over the tannoy, it's in fact not the working title of the Rendrag Stone, but rather the David Webster Steentorsen. So, I will toss the steam.
You up first?
Yeah, it's just a big pebble, isn't it?
So event number 3 was probably the least exciting of the day, and this is the point where I really started to feel the adrenaline crash my nervous system and just everything systemic start to go, what's going on here, bruv? And I decided to hold off on my caffeine until event number 4 because I felt more confident in those events and just wanted to get through number 3. So throw a rock over your head. Well, throw a rock however you would like to, as far as you can. Looking back at the footage, I think I probably could have had a bit more hip extension to throw from. I think I was protecting my back a little bit, having twinged it earlier in the day, and I didn't give myself quite as much power through my hips as I would have liked to extend it over my head. But 3 reps, I went 14 feet. Ed, 14 feet?
13.9 was a bit higher.
I think it was 13.9, so we'll round up to 14 feet.
Gone half 3 and we're on to event number 4. I have recaffeinated as I felt like I was in a big old slump. Next up is a Husafell replica stone. Husafell over in Iceland, about 189 kilos. This is about 130. Replica, man-made, so slippery. I was expecting it to be a bit rougher like the Husafell stone, but alas it is not. Grip, squeeze, hold on for dear life, keep moving. The one slight advantage I have, if I have the strength to be able to hold on to this over time, is that aerobically speaking, I should play to my strengths. So if I can even get that far, rather than just being too weak to hold on to it for long enough. So we will see. Cue me picking up a big heavy rock in 3, 2, 1.
Oh, this is a hard pickup. It's 130 kilos, that's 268 pounds. That's a fair win. Let's give him some encouragement. How's the way? This is one event, you don't have to go to the win. He's coming up to the turn. Close it up.
All the way back. Come on. All the way. All the way.
Here we go. To the big end, we're going to start the floor here.
One man, take it. All the way.
That's it. Oh, good job.
All right, job done, 40 meters complete. And the big mistake I made was not bumping it up an extra 2 inches before I set off. That would have given me a lot more leverage to squeeze onto. It would have meant that I probably would have had a little bit of a drop before I would have had to put the actual stone down. And it meant that at the turn, keeping my center of gravity would have been a little bit easier just by bringing it up that little bit more. I was told that by several of the lads beforehand, but in the adrenaline and the excitement of getting it off that log and getting ready to walk with it, I forgot. So lessons learned, bump it up that little bit more before going next time. So just be patient, take your time, try and control that adrenaline a bit more. And maybe I could have pushed on towards 60 meters. Who knows? I do think I could have done better though. But the main win is that I had a pair of boxers on underneath my kilt. Otherwise, I think we can all agree I would have been going to jail for an indecent exposure charge. So a success in the fact that I moved the stone 40 meters and didn't go to jail in the process of doing so, and less successful with the integrity of my forearms.
Come on, let's get the Eddie, come on! Come on! Ready to talk?
That's smooth. Alright, going around the other way, I think you get a shot.
All right, rolling into event number 5, which is an ascending wall of Scottish stones. 98 kilos, 113 kilos, 123 kilos, 137 and 152. My forearms are in trouble. My spine is in trouble. My hamstrings are in trouble. So let's see if I can put these stones in some trouble.
That width, as opposed to that width, you're never going to jump over your feet that wide. No. So talk about generating power, you want feet generally around a...
You need it wide to start, obviously, to get it off the deck, but because I mean, you can take time on your lap to readjust it and just slide your foot in.
You can squeeze it.
Aye.
Thank you, my man. Off I go.
Have fun.
Off I go.
Come on, Fergus.
Let's get a big hand for Fergus, Crawley.
Take it, ready? One the whistle.
Come on.
Big squeeze, up you go. Big squeeze inside, up you go. Make sure it sits on it. Make sure it's sitting. Okay. Here we go. Big pull, up all that.
Come on!
Big pull. Keep it going. That's it, get it in
Push
tight.
it, push it!
Get it in tight. Let's go. Come on, yes. Nice.
Come on, come on.
Really big. Come on, big squeeze on this one.
Come on. Big squeeze!
Try and clap your hands, let's go.
Come on then!
Try and
Come on.
clap your hands round it.
Hands round the way.
Thank you very much.
Nice one, thank you.
Thank you very much. Fucking hell, that 140 is horrendous. As expected, I'm pleased with that. That was never moving. That was never moving.
So there we have it, event number 5, the last event of the day, and in fact the Donald Dinnie games themselves, complete. Upon reflection, there are a few things I would have done differently in the stone wall event. Namely, on the 4th stone, I'd had some advice around how to pick it up because its center of gravity was really weirdly distributed. I was told to kind of get under it and try and squeeze it into the chest from the bottom upwards, make it a bit more upright to try and deal with that sort of center of mass redistribution, but I just couldn't get a grasp around it. I couldn't get it off the ground, and it seemed like I then became the guinea pig because nobody else tried to do it that way, even though that had been the general discussion ahead of time. So everybody else went for it side by side, and I think just took the weight distribution as it came. There were a few people that stumbled with it as they were picking it up off their knees. But ultimately, would I have moved the stone anyway? I don't know. Would I like to find out in the future? Yes, I very much would. Had I gone back and given the stone an attempt later that day when everything had died down, would it have moved? Probably not, because the adrenaline come down was rather severe. But I implemented the sort of advice and intel that I'd had beforehand, and I just couldn't make it work with that 137 kilo 4th stone that day. But I would like to return because I have heard that the 4th stone is the hardest, and if you can do the 4th stone, you should be able to do the 5th because it's much more angular on the pickup. And if you'd like to see what the 152 kilo stone looks like when it's not glued to the floor, here is Big John doing exactly that. Okay, participation trophy acquired, as I think we could all agree I was probably never in the running for a podium at the Donald Dinnie Games. But what a day it was. I felt truly honoured, privileged to be invited in a very, very specific corner of the strength community. Very Scottish, very welcoming, very friendly, very exciting, and just very wholesome, which is a weird way to describe a bunch of large men lifting heavy things, but I really left with a real buzz, a real pride, and a real sense of of enjoyment for strength sports in general. This was a great reminder for me as to why I love lifting, why I love being a hybrid athlete, why I love embracing curiosity, putting my ego to the side, and just enjoying things for the sake of enjoying them. Had I gone into that event wanting to win, I would have had a really bad time. But I went into that event with one goal, which was to not zero any events, secondary goal of having a good time, and a third goal of not tearing my lat off the bone on the nickel stone. So a roaring success. And it's important to mention at this point just how out of my comfort zone I was because of the standard of the competitors at this event. Chris, who won the event overall and put in some incredible performances on some of the events, along with being an absolute godsend for me personally with advice and guidance, came 5th in the UK Strongest Man Finals in 2023. So he is a really high level competitor. And you might have noticed Craig, who was the sort of other guy that was kind of my height and build and was 2 kilos heavier than I was, but competes internationally in his weight class in Strongman. So I really did feel like the odd one out, but all of the guys involved were fantastic. They didn't sort of treat me as an outlier in any way, all gave some fantastic advice and really helped me along the way, which I am immensely appreciative and grateful for, and really added to that wholesomeness that I've already mentioned of the event. I love seeing people that specialize in their sport executing that sport, and to be in the arena with them was really, really cool for me personally. So to leave with the experience that I now have, the lessons that I've now learned, and the debrief and the eye from each and every one of them has been invaluable. So now that I've got my body weight excuses out of the way, I just want to express how much I enjoyed this event and how much, even as a non-competitor, I think there is to be taken away from it as a fan of strength sports, as a fan of the stone lifting community, however you want to dress this up. It was a fantastic event. An enormous thank you to Stevie Shanks and Brett Nicol for putting it on and inviting me down. Hosted on the Belodie estate, opening up the Dinnie Stones, opening up the nickel stones, letting these stones be used when they are protected. There's a few that have actually been smashed, cracked all over Scotland recently, which is very unfortunate. So to be given an arena to experience that heritage, that application of strength and that enjoyment was really quite incredible. So a huge thank you to all involved, a huge thank you to all the competitors that gave me some impeccable advice, some really, really lovely guys, and I do really, really appreciate all of the guidance as the skinny running triathlon guy that came into your world briefly and couldn't pick up all of the stones. Massively appreciated. And what I'd also massively appreciate, to completely flip that gratitude on its head, is if you would like the video, comment with your thoughts or feelings down below, and make sure that you have hit subscribe, as I had a really good time filming this. So I hope you've had a really good time watching it. Onwards and upwards towards a 500-pound deadlift and a mile under 5 minutes. Let's just say my forearms, my chest, the hair on my chest, the hernia I think I've developed, the bruises on my ribs, my lower back, and just my general nervous system in its entirety is very thankful that my brief foray into the world of strongman is over.